and prayed for, that their best and highest can manifest in all ways at all times. And for this we give thanks and say amen. Amen. And I invite you to join me in reciting the Unity foundational principle, which is, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Thank you. Amen.
This is a wonderful old chestnut that a friend of mine suggested that we do, so let's please join us. Surely the presence. 1, 2, 3.
In the midst of his children, the Lord said he would be. It doesn't take very many, it can be just 2 or 3. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt of times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
There's a holy hush around us as God's glory fills this place. I've touched the hem of his garment. I can almost see his face, and my heart is overflowing with the fullness of his joy. I know without a doubt I've been with the Lord.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Good morning. I'm Helen Volanakis, and it's my honor to share today's daily word. That word is assurance. I live with the assurance of my divinity. There may have been times I've doubted my ability to create the life of my highest imaginings and resigned myself to living a limited life. Today, I make a new choice. I see myself as fully divine and fully human. I am so much more than my past. Even if I have made regrettable decisions or disempowering choices, I have the assurance that with each new day, I can begin again and build the life I want to live. As I pray, I feel the limitations of the world fall away. In the silence, I feel the presence of God and the fullness of my own divinity. This is the enduring truth of who I am. I affirm, I am strong, I am creative, I am wise. I leave the past behind and eagerly create the future, assured of my eventual success. From 1 John 4:13, by this we know that we abide in him and he in us, because he has given us of his Spirit.
Still short. Morning light workers. Today's reading comes from a book I'm really getting very attached to called The Book of Light by Alexandra Solnato, and it happens to look like that. I know you can't see it, but it gives you a general idea. This entry is called, appropriately enough, My Love, and it's written from the point of view of the Jesus or Christ consciousness. Give them my love. That is all. Give them my love. Give them the love that you receive from me. Do whatever you need to do so that my love reigns in your heart. Do your best to remove density and the negative and destructive memories and emotions that exist. Try to avoid having rage, hate, envy, and bitterness in your emotional system. Reach into your pain as much as you need to. Deactivate your memory and then ascend. When you arrive here, make sure that you are light, fresh, and crystalline so that my love can be blessed, so that my love can embrace the world through your vibrations. And when you are out on the streets, when you talk to people, when you're where you need to be in your daily life, the enormous amount of love that I feel for humanity will burst forth from you and invade the whole planet, and you will know that it is I. You will know that it is I who has invaded the streets and people's souls, and everything will become clearer, and everything will become cleaner, and everything will take on the vibrations of heaven, because this is the only way humankind has of returning home. Jesus. Thank you.
Sorry, keyboard just shut off on me. Operator error.
There are roads that can take you to places that you've never been. There are people, when you meet them, it's like they have lived inside your skin. There are souls you connect with so strong, a bond that's so deep and so true. That's the way I feel about you. There are times, like a magnet, you're drawn into somebody's life. You don't know what you're doing or why you are there, but you know it's right. There's a sense that the piece that was missing has suddenly come into view. That's the way I feel about you. I believe in this world there is nothing that happens by chance. There's a reason that at just this particular moment you came into my hands like a gift that you never expected, but you'll treasure your whole life through. That's the way I feel about you. Ooh. I believe in this world there is nothing that happens by chance. There's a reason that at just this particular moment you came into my hands like a gift that you never expected, but you'll treasure your whole life through. That's the way I feel about. That's the way I feel about. That's the way I feel about you.
Thank you, music team. That was beautiful. And good morning. My name is Ellen Campbell. I'm a member of the spiritual care team and happy to be here with you today. The members of the spiritual care team wear the purple prayer shawls, and we're here and available to pray with you after the service. The prayer box, which is over here right now, will be in the entryway near the front door. I will take the prayer slips home for the prayers for a week, and then they go to Unity Village for prayers for another month. Please do not leave with anything heavy on your hearts. It is my pleasure to guide you in meditation this morning. As we begin our time together, please close your eyes, settle into your chair, and take a few slow, deep breaths. I focus my attention on the energy center of love within my body, which is in and around my heart. I place my hands over my heart while envisioning a soft pink glow emanating from my heart. I am grateful that the well of love can never run dry, for the source of love is eternal. I call forth the magnetizing power of divine love. Love is the world's greatest attractive power. My dreams are surrounded by the pink light of love. Divine love roots our thoughts, words, and actions in heavenly soil. God is present to heal what needs healing and to attract greater good. I call forth the harmonizing power of love. Love harmonizes my thoughts, words, and actions so that I see things rightly and bring about good. I express love by seeing the good in all and picture the pink light surrounding us. Eric Butterworth said, "We are not in the world to set it right, but to see it rightly." I call forth the unifying power of love. I am divine love, unifying my thoughts, words, and actions until I know only oneness. I see myself in others, I see others in myself, and I see God in all of us. I am one. I send out from within me the pink light of love, blessing me and all people and all life. The unifying power of love is our capacity for communion, empathy, and compassionate service. So now let us sit in the silence and picture the people in our lives surrounded by the pink light of love, which is emanating from our hearts. As you come back into the room, take another deep breath and open your eyes. I am grateful for the sacred time we have shared. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well.
I believe in this world there is nothing that happens by chance. There's a reason that at just this particular moment you came into my hands like a gift that you never expected, but you'll treasure your whole life through. That's the way I feel about. That's the way I feel about. That's the way I feel about you.
Thank you, music team. And thank you, Ellen. Beautifully setting the stage for my message this morning. And a quick disclaimer before I start that these days Colin and I are not very good friends. So to make my way through my 20 minutes, I may be relying on some of my trusty throat lozenges. Have you all ever seen, there's an image that circulates around online this time of year, and it has a speck of pollen that's under a microscope, and it's shown side by side with the Death Star from Star Wars. And they look exactly identical, and it says, "Any questions?" So anyway, God's voice cannot falter, that's what I say. So we are in week 6 now. Week 6, can you believe it? We're actually coming almost to a completion of our congregation-wide transformational book study program. This week, exploring deeply the book Sacred Abundance, 7 Spiritual Principles to Experience Heaven on Earth Now, written by me. So quick overview of where we've been so far in our first 5 weeks. Principle number 1, called First Things First, taught us about how to keep God at the center of all things through the practices of listening to spiritual guidance, working with gratitude, and the concept of giving and staying in the cycle of constant circulation. Next, we worked with the bumblebee principle, named because it's been proven that it is aerodynamically impossible for the bumblebee to fly, and yet it does. And so this principle is about living in the field of all possibility and breaking through the limited human constructs that keep us small. The universe listens was principle number 3, and that is what's known as the law of attraction. In Unity, we call it the law of mind action, and it's about the messages we are persistently sending with our thoughts, our words, our actions, our beliefs are going to go out into the universe, get expanded, and come back as truth in our lives. We are co-creating, and the universe is listening. We then moved into lighten your load, which is about taking a deeper look at the beliefs that we carry about ourselves and about the world that are not true. Limiting beliefs, beliefs of unworthiness, smallness, beliefs that generate fear and separation, and tapping into those and transforming those into the truth that we are God's magnificent creation. And then last week, Reverend Leslie led us through principle number 5, which oddly enough is called Give Up Hope. But that is based on a quote from Jerry Jampolsky, and where he says that forgiveness only happens when you give up hope for a better past. And so the fifth principle of sacred abundance is the practice of forgiveness, and the truth that if we are in a space of unforgiveness, of resentment, blame, guilt, shame, we have stepped right down on the hose of the flow of our good. And so forgiveness opens that flow back up. So we've hit a lot of good things so far, and we move now into principle number 6, which I call the mightiest magnet. And Ellen did give us a beautiful summary, because the mightiest magnet is the energy, force, and the power of love. And if we want to experience sacred abundance in our lives in all of its forms, and just a reminder, abundance is an all-encompassing term, and it's about having all that our heart desires, all that we need in any given moment is provided for us, whatever that looks like. Health, joy, love, peace, money, time, having overflow of all the good that we desire. That's what abundance is about. Everybody still wanting that? More than an overflow of anything your heart could desire. So if we want to align with that, the energy of love is one of the huge keys to that. Because the power of love, now I'm talking about something that is so much more expansive than, huggy, huggy, kissy, kissy, sweetie pie, honey poo, love you, love. That is an aspect of the energy of love, but simply an aspect. Love is a force. Love is an energy field. Love is a power in and of itself. And when we are anchoring with that force, with that power that is love, that is expansive love, that is divine love, I like the word that's used that's called agape love. Some of you may have heard that. Agape is this all-inclusive love that wraps around everyone and everything, that transcends romance. It's this experiential, full self, full soul love. And when we are anchored into that force, when it is flowing through us, when it is vibrating from us, we actually magnetize ourselves. We create a literal magnetic field around us that then draws to us all overflowing good. Isn't that cool? You all have seen a magnet at work. We all did this somewhere along in elementary school, where you took the one little magnet and then you put the thing that matched it and it just sucked right to it. And there's powerful magnets that can do extraordinary things. And this is the most powerful magnet of all. And when we vibrate at that space, we draw to us. That's one aspect of the power of love, the great magnetizer to pull good into our lives when we vibrate at that space. Love is also the great harmonizer. Harmonizing people, harmonizing energies, harmonizing the cells in our body. If you are experiencing a physical challenge, discomfort, pain, something out of alignment, and you activate into the vibration of love, then you will reset your cells into harmony with one another. And yes, literally the power of love can heal disease. Can I get an amen? And it can transform so many things. And I teach in the book this principle that I actually learned from Linda that's called beaming love. And the example I use is, I'm sure all of you along the way, somewhere, maybe you've seen a comic book imagery, or maybe you've watched a cartoon about superheroes, or a movie about superheroes. Everybody has seen the imagery of that. And they all have some kind of a superpower. The freeze ray or the flame thing or flying or whatever it may be. And whenever they activate that power, there's usually like this ray that comes out from them. And it's usually got a color. And if you're actually watching the cartoon, it has a sound. If you're reading it, they put it up in that little sound bubble. And it does something like, something like that. And they activate that, and then it goes out to its destination, and it does its thing. So I like to picture that when I'm thinking about the idea of beaming love. I try to avoid making that sound, because, when I'm trying to beam love to the to the rude person online in front of me at Publix. I don't want to be standing there being all, wah, 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 you know, that's not, that might have the opposite effect that I'm intending. But energetically imagining that we have this ability, that if there's a circumstance or a situation that's out of alignment, we can silently, energetically imagine this light. And you can pick whatever color you want, and you can hear whatever sound you want in your head, but imagining this light that is the force field of love just sent out to that person in that situation. And you will be amazed at the transformation that can even happen with complete and total strangers that you're passing by somewhere, that you energetically beam love out to, and you will experience a shift. Or perhaps you're entering into a situation where you know you might likely be called to maybe have to beam some love, you know, like going home for a holiday or a big meeting with a particular team at work or something like that. You might even send that beam out before you and fill the space and the energy field with the vibration of love and watch the transformation. And I felt like this morning the best way to really bring home how powerful this force is to share some stories of it in effect. All true stories. You can read the story that is mine about my little student in school named Sarah in the book, but I wanted to share a few others. In 1976, at a Special Olympics event, there were 9 young people who were lined up for the 100-yard dash. And each of these young people had some form or some combination of physical or mental disability. But you could see on their faces as they were at that starting line that they were ready, they were on a mission. They were all staring at that finish line, and they were in position, and they were ready to win this race. And they called them to the start, and the gun went off, and they all sprinted out in their own way, in their own pace, except for one, who caught his feet in the starting blocks and tripped and went head over heels several times, scraping himself, bruising himself, and he lay on the ground crying. And the other racers heard him, and they slowed down, and one by one they stopped. And they turned around and saw him, and they all walked back, and they assisted in lifting him from the ground, and the 9 of them locked arms and walked across the finish line together. The head of the race awarded 9 gold medals that day. Yeah. That power of love, that power that showed up as empathy, as compassion, because perhaps every one of them knew that the very same thing could have happened to them and probably had before. And that power of love transcended competition, because when they stood at that starting block, they were competitors. They were against one another, trying to win. And then the energy of love came in and unified and harmonized and created something extraordinary. Now you might think, well, that's a sweet story, Robin. Again, true story. But it seems kind of easy. You know, young individuals at a Special Olympics competition are typically the kind of people that are known to be kind and compassionate. So how might this whole power and this theory stand up to unbridled rage? A man tells a story of being on a commuter train and having a ride that was primarily uneventful until it wasn't. The train stopped at one of its usual stops, and the doors open, and into the car where he was seated barged a man, large, burly, disheveled, smelly construction worker who was drunk as he could be and enraged. He stepped in and the car doors shut and the train moved. And he was literally growling. And the first thing he did was take a swing at a woman holding a baby who dove into the laps of a couple nearby. It was amazing that the baby wasn't hurt. Another couple stood up to move to the other end of the train to get safe, and he reached out a kick to the back of the lady as she headed down. And he just continued roaring. He grabbed a hold of one of the stanchions that people hold and was shaking it so hard he nearly pulled it right out of the base of the train. Well, this man that told the story, he was one that had been well practiced in martial arts. And he knew this was his moment. People were in danger, and he needed to do something. He needed to step up, and he needed to stop this man. And so he stood up. He was much smaller. And the drunk turned around and roared, "This is going to be fun." And he started to lunge at the man. And just then they heard this voice, kind of almost whimsically high voice, say, "Hey, hey." And they both turned to look, and seated on the bench there, kind of between them, was a small, little, frail old man. And they both stopped in their tracks, and he looked at the drunk and said, "Come here. Come here to me. Come talk to me." And it was almost as if that man was on a string. He went right to him and stood in front. "I don't got nothing to say to you." "What you been drinking?" the little old man said. "Whiskey." "Why? Why do you care?" "Oh, I do like whiskey sometimes. Sometimes my wife and I will sit out in the garden and watch the sunset, and we like to just sip. It's so warm. It's so nice. We have this beautiful weeping willow tree." And the drunk man said, "I have a weeping willow tree." And the old man said, Well, you must have a wife. Tell me about her. Tell me about your family." And by that time, he had sat down. And he dropped his head and he said, "I don't have a wife. She died. And because of how I've behaved, I lost my job." And then he started sobbing. He said, "I'm so ashamed." At that point, the train got to its next stop. The gentleman who was ready to have gotten into the fight, it was his stop. And he stepped off and he turned around to see. The last thing he saw before the train doors closed is that big burly drunk man with his head in the old man's lap, sobbing. And the old man was just stroking his hair. That is the power and the energy of love. A different way. In the midst and in the face of unbridled rage, that little old man found a different way. He found a way to love that man and discover that his behavior was coming from his own pain. What about in the midst of war? Sworn enemies on a mission to destroy each other. There's a man named Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and he was the author of the iconic story, The Little Prince. He was actually killed in combat in World War II, but before that, he fought in the Spanish Civil War against the fascists. And in the midst of that fight, at one point during a battle, he was captured, and he was taken to prison. And he could tell clearly by the energy of these guards and soldiers, the way they were speaking, the way they were treating him, it was very clear that he would be due to be executed the next morning. Once the intake was complete, he was left with just one guard. Didn't know if he spoke any English, but Exupéry reached into his shirt pocket and discovered as they had taken his things, they had left just one cigarette that was left tucked into the bottom of his pocket. So he pulled it out, but he didn't have a lighter anymore. So he called out to the other man, the guard, and he stood with a cigarette in his mouth out through the bars. Por favor. And the soldier turned, angrily grunted, I speak English. Oh, do you have a light, please? He begrudgingly reached into his pocket for his lighter and came over as Exupéry was leaning through the bars, and he lit his cigarette, and Antoine didn't know why or what possessed him. But as that soldier was just a few inches from his own face, lighting his cigarette for him, Antoine smiled at him. And it was as though the energy of that, the force field of love, penetrated right through, and the guard smiled back. So Antoine jumped at the opportunity and quickly said, do you have any kids? Oh. Man reached into his wallet and pulled out his pictures. How about you? And they started talking about their families and their children and their homes. And then suddenly, without a word about it, the guard unlocked the cell and said, follow me. And he led him through the back streets of the city, secretly out to the city gate, and set him free, and turned without a word to go back. Saint Exupéry says, my life was saved by a smile. That's the energy field of love, transcending even the horrors of war. In Northern Virginia, many years ago, there was an old man on a cold, snowy night that needed to get back home, but he was going to need help to get across the river. So he was waiting, hoping that someone on horseback would come by and help him. And he could hear footfalls of horses along the way. And he saw the first gentleman, and he let him pass. Didn't wave at him, didn't try to get his attention. Then he saw the next, and he let him pass, and the next. Finally, the fourth gentleman, he waved his arm and called out, please, can you help me? And the rider stopped. The man said, I just need to get my cottage where I live is across the river, but there doesn't seem to be passageway by foot. I just need a ride across. Of course, said the rider, hop on up. And he watched and realized the man was nearly frozen to the ground. So he got off his horse and helped him get up and helped him get onto the back of his horse. And when they got real close to their destination, the rider said, I need to ask you something, sir. You clearly desperately needed help to get back home. But before I came along, there were 3 other riders, and I noticed you didn't try to stop any of them for help. Well, why is that? Why didn't you try to stop them, but you did stop me? And the old man said, well, I've lived around these parts a long time, and I kind of feel like I sort of have a sense of people. And when I looked into the eyes of those other 3 men, they were cold. They were empty. They were heartless. And I knew they would not want to stop to help the likes of me. And then I saw your eyes, and I saw compassion. I saw dignity, and I saw kindness, and I knew you would help me. And the rider was really touched and thanked the man, got to his cottage, helped him off the horse, and said goodbye. And with that, Thomas Jefferson turned his horse and rode back to the White House. This power is everywhere present, and it's first and foremost present in you. This power of love that spreads out as compassion, as empathy, as kindness. It is the power that connects us, the power that unites us, the power that heals us. And it is, my friends, it is the one and only thing that is going to heal this world. Yes, it is the one and only thing. And it's not hard. These acts can be very simple. A smile, a thank you, or perhaps a moment of forgiveness, or connection, or a hand up. And when we activate this principle of sacred abundance, we activate the core message of our master teacher, Jesus Christ. Love one another. That is what we're here to do. You'll hear the final story in song, given to you by our music team. Long may we live with this power of love. Namaste.
Manuel Garcia, proud youthful father, was known on his block as a hard-working man. With a wife and a family, a job and a future, he'd everything going according to plan. One day Manuel Garcia, complaining of stomach pains, went to the clinic to find out the cause. His body was found to have cancerous tissue, ignoring the order of natural laws. So Manuel Garcia of Milwaukee County checked into the medical complex in town, suddenly seeing his 39 years like the sand in an hourglass plummeting down.
What are my choices? Cried Manuel Garcia. You've basically two, was the doctor's decree. Your cancer untreated will quickly be fatal, but treatment is painful with no guarantees. And so it began, Manuel's personal odyssey, long sleepless nights and a chemical days, with echoes of footsteps down long, lonely corridors, toiling his minutes and hours away. With the knowledge that something inside was consuming him, Manuel Garcia was filled with despair. He'd already lost 40 pounds to the cancer, and now to the drugs he was losing his hair.
After 9 weeks in treatment, the doctor came calling, said, Manuel, we've done about all we can do. Your cancer could go either way at this juncture. It's out of our hands and it's now up to you. He looked in the mirror, a sad, frightened stranger, so pale, so wrinkled, so lonely, so scared, diseased, isolated, and feeling unlovable, 126 pounds and no hair. He dreamed of his Carmen at 60 without him, his 4 little children not having their dad, of Thursday night card games at Julio's and everything else he'd not done that he wished that he had.
Awakened from sleep on the day of his discharge by shuffling feet going all round his bed, Manuel opened his eyes and thought he was still dreaming, his wife and 4 friends with no hair on their heads. He blinked and he looked again, not quite believing the 4 shiny heads all lined up side by side. And still to that point not a word had been spoken. Soon they were laughing so hard that they cried. The hospital hallways were ringing with voices. "Patron, we did this for you," said his friends. And they wheeled him out to the car that they had borrowed. Amigo, cá estamos contigo, ves.
So Manuel Garcia returned to his neighborhood, dropped off in front of his 2-bedroom flat. The block seemed unusually deserted for Sunday. He drew a deep breath and adjusted his hat. But before he could enter, the front door flew open. Manuel was surrounded by faces he knew, 50-odd loved ones and friends of the family, with clean-shaven heads and the words, "We love you." So Manuel Garcia, a victim of cancer, a father, a husband, a neighbor, a friend, with a lump in his throat, said, "I'm not one for speeches, but here I have something that needs to be said. I felt so alone with my baldness and cancer.
Now you stand beside me, thank heaven above,
For giving me strength that I need, may God bless you. And long may we live with the meaning of love. For giving me strength that I need, may God bless you. And long may we live with the meaning of love.
Wow, is everybody feeling the love today? What a wonderful service. Thank you, thank you. So my name is Pam Selig, and I'm a little emotional. So I'm here to share prosperity teaching with you today. And since our focus today is on love, I decided to read from 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13, and it is Paul's definition of love. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became grown, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And now, will the ushers please come forward? Now is the time in our service to joyously support our church with our tithes and offerings.
For those who are joining us for the first time today, please know that your presence is your gift to us. If you filled out the information card on the front of the welcome packet, please drop that in the offering basket as it passes by. I now invite you to take your gift in your hands and let us join in the offering blessing. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am blessed. Amen.
I could wear a rainbow in the month of June, put a quote on my car window about the good I want to do. I could buy a poster praising everybody's word, take a picture by a waterfall and prove I care about the earth, to show I know what love means. That's who I could be. What love needs is my voice speaking from my truth. What love needs is showing up, knowing what is mine to do. What love needs are hands and feet. What love needs is me. I could circle holy places to visit when I can, pin a ribbon on my overcoat, raise another flag. I could cheer the loudest for someone else's work, tell the youth to go forward, to heal the world of hurt, to show I know how love moves. That's what I could do. What love needs is my voice speaking from my truth. What love needs is showing up, knowing what is mine to do. What love needs are hands and feet. What love needs is me. We'll never find a brighter light than the one shining as our lives. When one of us stands, we all rise. What love needs is my voice speaking from my truth. What love needs is showing up, knowing what is mine to do. What love needs are hands and feet. What love needs is, what love needs is, what love needs is me. What love needs is me. What love needs is me.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful job. As the ushers are making their way forward, last week is the final week of Faith in Action, and we complete with the end of the rainbow, the end of the spectrum. Next week's color is purple. All right, so let's be in our space of gratitude. We are truly and abundantly blessed in so many ways in this community filled with love, light, heart, and service. So we know how the law works, how we function in the cycle of giving and receiving. So let's open up those hands, because Scripture has promised our blessings will return, heaped up, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, for that's the law, and so it is. Amen. And while we're in a gratitude, blessing, and appreciation space, I want to acknowledge this week's sacred server, Miss Ali Nieves. And Ali is the president of our board of trustees, and if I listed all the other things she does, we'd be here till Thursday. So thank you, Ali. We love and appreciate you for all that you contribute to this community. A couple of quick announcements before we welcome the children in. First of all, we are doing our first ever cookbook exchange. So we're asking you to look through your cookbook collection and to bring in any gently used, good condition that you're no longer using anymore, and we're gathering those between now and the end of April. And then on Saturday, May 3rd, between 10 and noon, you can come into the Love and Light Center and shop, and every book will be $5, and that will bless the church. So please look through those cookbooks. Again, we don't want ones that are all fallen out of the binding or bent up or stained. We want good condition, but there's probably at least a few that you're not using anymore, so you can bring those in anytime between now all the way through the last Sunday of April. Coming this Saturday, yay, it's the Pet Blessing Day. Favorite special day that we love so much, between 9 and noon out in the garden, the 12 Powers Garden. Please bring your beautiful, fuzzy, furry, fluffy, scaly, feathery critters that are your animal babies, and they will get a personal blessing from Reverend Leslie and myself. There's also going to be some energy work and Reiki and treats and all kinds of good stuff happening for that. So we are so grateful for that day. It's one of my favorites of the year. I can't wait to meet those babies of yours. So, and this is welcome to anyone. Tell your neighbors, anybody that you know that you see out while you're walking your dogs, tell them to bring them over anytime between 9 and noon this coming Saturday. Also, Easter Sunday's coming up in a few weeks. 2 weeks from today, actually, is Easter Sunday. And two parts of that are our traditions. One is after service, we do our Easter egg hunt for our youth. And the Easter Bunny needs your help. Out on the table, there's a big bin of empty eggs that you can take and bring them home and fill them up with goodies and bring them back by Easter Sunday. The only thing we request is please no chocolate, because this is Florida and they get hidden outside for approximately an hour, and if you put chocolate in them, it'll just be a big goopy mess. So other things, so bring them back in. There's bins for the filled eggs and empty ones that you can take. So that's Easter Sunday. And we also, in God's Cafe, we serve a full, wonderful, abundant Easter brunch with all the fixings. And we've got the main stuff set for that, but our team is looking for some people to volunteer to bring some side dishes. So Helen, who's right there at the door, who will be working over in the cafe, if you'd like to offer a side dish for Easter Sunday brunch, please see her so she can kind of capture that so we don't have too many repeats. So those are the big things. Next week's color is purple to wrap up Faith in Action. So I think we've got some beautiful children to come in. Let's welcome in our youth.
I love the seashells, I love the sandy beach, I love the shark's teeth, I love the manatees, I love the whole world, and all its sights and sounds. Boom-de-yada, 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 boom-de-yada. I love the fellowship, I love to co-create, I love the Christ light, I love to meditate, I love the whole world, it's such a brilliant place. Boom-de-yada, 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 boom.
Miss Lisa's gonna share with you for a moment.
Good morning, everybody. I walked out the door and forgot it was Blue Day, so my husband grabbed me a blue shawl, so it's one of my favorite colors. I do want to share something with you this morning. Tree pollen is really getting to me. Okay. In the summer of 2006, my oldest son was 5, my daughter was 2.5, and I was 6 months pregnant with my youngest son. One Sunday, Reverend Patricia, Robin's mom, asked me and my husband to go out to lunch. During that lunch, she let me know that the youth ministry director was leaving the position and asked if I would be interested in the job. Now, anyone who was blessed enough to know Patricia knows that she had a special way of asking people things and that no one ever said no to Patricia. Facts. While we talked, she also told me the amount of the monthly stipend for the youth ministry director. And it happened to be the exact same dollar amount that we had just found out the week prior that our homeowners insurance was going to be going up. It was a season of our lives where we were pinching every single penny, and I had no idea how we were going to come up with the extra money every month. It was one of those moments where you feel like the universe is singing to you. I cried tears of relief and joy and excitement, and of course I said yes to Patricia. Now, after just shy of 19 years later, I'm in a different season of my life. That baby that was in my belly when I took over the job is getting ready to graduate high school. With a lot of time in prayer and listening to my heart and to the universe, I've come to know that it's time for me to graduate too. I'll be stepping out of the position of youth ministry director at the end of May. My last day in the job will be on May 25th. This is not a decision that has been made easily or hastily, but I know that it's time. With my whole heart, I thank you for entrusting me with the spiritual guidance of the children of this church for so many years. I love these kids. Thank you.
Thank you. So just breathe on that. As she said, she's staying in the position until the end of May, and you all will be hearing more about there will be a proper celebration, acknowledgement, and send-off of Lisa on that last Sunday of May. So just keep your ears open for some pieces of that, but we just so appreciate, I will tell you, being around the Unity movement for all the years that I have, for someone to be in a, excellently do a youth ministry position for 19 years is just absolutely unheard of. Unheard of. So we have been blessed, and the board and I will, of course, be in process, trusting that Spirit's going to draw to us the right and perfect next step for our community and for our youth. So thank you all for that. All right, so let's stand and join hands for the peace song and the prayer for protection. Please bring your cookbooks. I hope to see you Saturday with your fur babies. Bring them to us to bless, 9 o'clock to noon.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Thanks, Joel.